Gaze steady. Madam Stella, I like this girl. I don't want to share her with anyone else. I want her for myself alone. Madam raised a brow, amused. Since when did Dayo start catching feelings for street girls? You know the rules. They work for me. Nobody is special here. I'll pay for her, Dayo said firmly. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. 1 million naira. Straight to your account. Tonight. The room fell quiet. Madam Stella's fingers paused mid-count, her eyes widening. 1 million? It was more than she expected. Greed flashed across her face, but so did caution. She leaned back slowly. Dayo returned to his mansion in Lekki late that night, but nothing felt normal. He drove inside quietly. The lights glittered in every corner of his big house, yet he felt empty inside. He poured himself a glass of wine, dropped heavily into the leather chair, and closed his eyes. But the face he wanted to forget refused to leave. Mary, her eyes. Wide, trembling, innocent. The way she cried when she told him about her parents. The way her voice broke when she said she wanted freedom, not money. Chai, God, Dayo muttered, rubbing his forehead. What is a small village girl like that doing on Lagos Street? That night, women didn't feel like toys anymore. For the first time in his life, he saw one differently. Mary was not like the others. She was too naive, too raw, too broken for that life. Something about her pierced his heart deeper than he wanted to admit. He stood up, pushing his wine aside. His chest rose and fell fast as he paced the room. I can't just leave her there, he whispered. I can't. But how? Everyone knew Madam Stella. She wasn't ordinary. She had strong connections, guards, and dirty businesses hidden under shiny covers. A direct fight would be dangerous. He finally forced himself to lead. By morning, he made a decision. If he would save Mary, he would not do it foolishly. He would do it the legal way. That was the only way to break Stella's chains completely. He scrolled through his phone and stopped at a number he had not dialed in months. Barrister Johnson, a sharp lawyer who once handled one of his big business cases, a man who hated human traffickers with passion. He dialed, "Hello, Barrister, good morning," Dayo said, his voice steady but his heart racing. "Dayo, my brother. Long time," the lawyer laughed. "What's happening? I need your help. It's not business this time. It's something personal." The barrister's voice lowered. "Personal? For you? That sounds serious." Dayo swallowed hard. "It is. There's a girl. Innocent, young. She's being held by Madam Stella. I believe you know her." The line went silent for a moment. Then Johnson's voice came low and heavy. "Of course I know her. She's been on our radar for long. But that woman always escapes. Too many people protect her." "Then maybe it's time to pin her down," Dayo said firmly. "I want this girl safe. Whatever it takes. Tell me what we can do legally." Johnson paused, then spoke slowly. "If you are serious, Dayo, it will not be easy. We need proof, evidence, witnesses. If we rush, Stella will vanish, or worse, she may hurt the girl. You must act smart." Dayo clenched his fist. "I'm ready. Just tell me what to do. Then start by staying close to the girl. Gain her trust. Learn her story in detail. Watch Stella's movements. Collect every small piece. Once we have enough, we can bring in the authorities. But be careful, my friend. Stella is a serpent. The call ended. Dayo dropped the phone and walked to the window. The Lagos skyline stretched before him, but all he saw was Mary's tears. This was no longer about desire. It was about saving a life. That evening, Dayo picked up his car keys again. He knew Stella would expect him to return, and he would. But this time, not as a customer. This time, as a man with a mission. And in his chest, one thought beat like a drum. Mary will not die in that place. Not while I'm alive. From the outside, Madam Stella's compound looked the same. Men came and went. The guards stood at the gate, chewing gum and laughing. Music blasted from the parlor. To the world, it was business as usual. But inside, something had changed. Mary no longer went out to the streets like the others. Madam Stella had marked her. She belongs to Dayo, Stella told her workers. No one touches her. She stays inside. At first, Mary thought this was mercy. At least she no longer had to stand on corners, waiting for strangers to claim her body. But she soon realized it was another kind of prison. She was now a trophy, a possession. Locked inside the walls, watched day and night, her freedom shrank even more. The other girls looked at her with mixed eyes. Some were jealous. At least you don't hustle like us. Others pitied her. Better the street than Madam's direct chain. Mary felt both. She hated the streets. But being caged for one man's interest was another kind of death. And still, Dayo kept coming. He played the part of a customer, but every time he entered, Mary's heart beat faster, not out of love yet, but out of fear and fragile hope. He would slip her food, ask her quiet questions, gather little details she noticed in Stella's empire. The guards sleep heavy after midnight. Madam keeps a drawer of money under her bed. The black van leaves every Friday with girls. Dayo carried these whispers to Barrister Johnson, who scribbled them down like treasure. One evening, Johnson leaned over the table. We're close, Dayo. Very close. But without her black book, we can't lock her down in court. That book is the hammer. We need it. Dayo nodded, but he knew Stella's eyes were sharper than ever. She watched him differently from other customers. He didn't drink. He didn't laugh loudly. He didn't touch the girls the way others did. He asked too little, noticed too much. Stella had been in this game too long. She smelled danger before it arrived. One night, while sipping wine, she whispered to her guard, "That man, Dayo, I don't trust him. Watch him closely. If he's trouble, silence him before he silences me." The guard nodded. That same week, as Dayo drove home, two men on a motorcycle followed his car. He felt it in his bones. He pressed his foot hard on the accelerator, swerving until he reached the bright lights of a fuel station. Only then did the bike disappear. He sat in the car, chest heaving. He didn't need anyone to explain. Stella had begun to suspect, but instead of fear, something else filled him. Determination. If Stella wanted war, he would fight harder. Later, When he came to see Mary, she grabbed his arm and whispered, "Don't come again. Madam is watching you. If she finds out, she will kill you and me." Dayo's eyes locked on hers. His voice was steady. "Mary, listen to me. You will not die here, I swear. Just hold on a little longer." Then Dayo brought out a mini recorder for her. "Mary, you have to be smart. With this, no one must see or notice this. It is a device used for recording every bit of conversation. So please keep it safe." Tears blurred Mary's side and nodded with affirmation. But Stella's shadow never left. That night, as Dayo stepped out, her voice cut through the room like a knife. "You seem to like that girl too much, Mr. Dayo. Don't forget she belongs to me." Dayo froze for a second. His jaw tightened. He didn't turn. He didn't reply. He only clenched his fist and walked out. But her words echoed in his chest. "She belongs to me." No, Mary belonged to nobody. And Dayo would prove it even if it cost him everything. One evening, Dayo sat his parents down to talk about his plans towards Mary. He had never imagined that love, true love, could be so difficult. But when his family heard his intentions, their reactions were not what he expected. His mother's face went pale. "What did you just say?" Her voice trembled with disbelief. "You're dating her." His father's voice was thick with disdain. "A cool girl, Dayo? After everything you've worked for, this is who you want to marry?" Dayo's heart dropped. He hadn't prepared for this. His mother's tears blurred her vision, and his father's anger simmered just below the surface. "She's not just a call girl," Dayo snapped. "Mary's different. She's kind, strong, and innocent. You don't understand her story, but I do. I can't just walk away from her. She deserves more than this life, and I will give it to her." His mother's sobs grew louder. "What about your family's reputation, Dayo? You can't marry someone with such a past. What will your friends say? What will society think? This family won't accept her, Dayo. You know that. And if you choose her, you choose to sever your ties with us. You will walk away from everything we've built." The night was heavy. The air in Lagos carried that strange stillness that comes before a storm. Inside Madam Stella's compound, laughter and music echoed, but beneath it all, fear was creeping in. Mary sneaked and brought out the recorder to document all the activities going on. For days, Dayo had played his role perfectly. He came, he smiled, he pretended. But tonight, his heart pounded harder. He knew the police were waiting for his signal. He also knew Stella's eyes were fixed on him like a hawk. Mary sat quietly in a corner, her hands trembling. She had stopped asking questions. Tonight, something in her spirit told her the end was near, whether freedom or death. She didn't know. Madam Stella was in her usual spot, glass of wine in hand, her wig sitting perfectly, her gold chains flashing. She laughed loudly, as if the world itself belonged to her. "Business is good," she boasted to a guest. "By Friday, dollars will rain." Dayo swallowed his rage. "Not if I can stop it." Then the moment came. Stella rose from her chair and walked toward her private room. The black book. Dayo's eyes followed. If she locked it again, tonight's mission could fail. He excused himself, slipping down the hallway. His palms sweated. Every step was a drumbeat in his chest. At the door of her room, he waited, ear pressed to the wood. He heard her drawer slide, the scratch of pen on paper. When the sound faded, he moved quickly. He entered as if by accident, his smile calm. "Ah, madam, forgive me. I was looking for the restroom." Stella turned sharply, suspicion flashing. She closed the drawer slowly, her hand resting on it. "Mr. Dayo," she purred, "you like to wander too much. Be careful where your legs carry you." Dayo chuckled lightly, masking the storm inside. "Just wine confusion, madam. No offense." But as he walked away, he had seen it, the book, black leather, half hidden under papers. He had what Johnson needed. That night, as the party raged on, Dayo stepped outside for fresh air. He pressed a quick text on his phone. Now, minutes later, the gate burst open. Sirens, shouts. Armed policemen stormed in. "Everybody down, nobody move." The music cut. Drinks crashed to the floor. Girls screamed. Guards reached for weapons, but the police were faster. Gun butts cracked against skulls. Men fell to the ground. Mary froze, her heart leaping into her throat. She didn't know whether to run, hide, or cry. Stella roared like a wounded lion. "How dare you? Do you know who I am?" She tried to dash for her room, but 2 officers grabbed her. She kicked, scratched, cursed, her wig sliding off as she thrashed. Dayo ran straight past her, into the bedroom. He yanked open the drawer, and there it was, the black book. He clutched it tight, the final weapon against her. When he emerged, Stella's eyes locked on him. Realization struck. Her voice broke into a scream. You traitor. I knew it. You set me up." But her words drowned under the chaos. The police dragged her, her legs kicking, gold chains clattering. "You'll pay for this," she howled. "You and that girl will rot." Mary's knees gave way. She collapsed onto the floor, tears streaming, her chest heaving with sobs. Freedom was so close, yet she still shook in fear, unsure if this was real or just another cruel game. Dayo knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders. "It's over, Mary. Do you hear me? It's over. You're free now." The other girls were herded out, some crying, some laughing in disbelief, their chains of silence finally broken. The compound that once swallowed their dreams was now a crime scene. As Stella was shoved into the back of a police van, she spat into the night. "This isn't the end. You'll regret this, Dayo. And you, Mary, you think you're free? You're mine forever." The van door slammed shut. Her voice was gone. Only the echo remained. And in that silence, Mary wept into Dayo's chest. For the first time in years, her tears were not for shame, but for release. The night of chains had ended, but the scars would remain. The police station was filled with noise. Reporters gathered outside, shouting questions. Inside, the freed girls sat huddled together, their faces pale, their eyes wide. Some whispered prayers, others just stared into space, too broken to speak. Mary sat close to Dayo, her hand clutching his sleeve as if letting go meant losing safety again. 2 days later, the court case began. Madam Stella arrived in handcuffs, but her chin was raised high. She still wore pride like a crown. Behind her walked Aunty Ngozi, looking smaller, her face swollen with fear. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, even strangers who had followed Stella's stories for years, all waited to hear the verdict. The prosecutor stood and read from the black book Dayo had risked his life to get. Names, dates, payments, everything was there. It was the final nail in Stella's empire. The judge's voice ran through the hall. Madam Stella, you have been found guilty of human trafficking, child abuse, and exploitation. This court sentences you to 10 years in prison with no option of fine. Gasps filled the air. For the first time, Stella's mask cracked. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted around as if searching for someone to save her. But there was no one left. Then came Aunty Ngozi's turn. She was asked why she lured Mary from her village. Her voice shook as she spoke. I was jealous. My brother always praised Mary, always said she was intelligent, destined for great things. I hated hearing it. I never knew it would end like this. The courtroom went silent. Mary lowered her head, her chest burning with pain. Her own blood, her father's sister, had sold her dreams out of jealousy. The judge slammed the gavel. Aunty Ngozi, for aiding, trafficking and deceiving your family, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. Ngozi burst into tears, begging, but her cries echoed uselessly. Justice had spoken. When it was over, the girls were officially released. They stepped out of the courtroom into the sunlight, no longer slaves, but free daughters of Nigeria. Dayo stood beside Mary the entire time. He didn't leave her side, and when the officers finally told them they could go, he turned to her and said softly, "Let's go home." The journey to Mary's village was quiet. The green fields stretched wide, the red dust clung to the tires, and the sounds of birds filled the air. Mary's heart pounded. She hadn't seen her parents since the day she waved goodbye, full of dreams. Now she was returning with wounds they could never have imagined. When they arrived, her mother was outside, pounding yam. Her father sat under the mango tree, carving wood. The moment they saw Mary step out of the car, they froze. "Mary?" her mother whispered. The pestle fell from her hands. Mary ran into her arms, sobbing. "Mama! Papa! I am here!" Her father's eyes glistened as he pulled them both close. "My child, you are alive. Thank God you are alive." But when Dayo explained everything, Madam Stella, the streets, the betrayal, her parents sat in silence, their faces hard with sorrow. "Aunty Ngozi?" her father asked, his voice breaking. "Yes," Dayo said firmly. "She was behind it all. Out of jealousy, she has been punished." Mary's mother covered her face and wept. Her father shook his head slowly. "Blood can be wicked, but we thank God for rescuing our daughter." Then Dayo looked at them, his voice steady. "Sir Ma, you are blessed to have a child like Mary. She is strong, she is intelligent, and her story is not over. I want to send her to school. I want her to finish her dream of becoming a nurse. And when the time is right, I want to marry her not out of pity, but because I truly love her." Her parents stared at him, speechless. Then her father spoke softly. "If your love is true, then you are welcome. We only want our daughter's happiness." Tears filled Mary's eyes. She had thought her life was finished, but here was hope, again fragile but real. Months passed. With Dayo's support, Mary went back to school. She studied with passion, her heart burning with a desire to heal others. Slowly, her laughter returned, her dreams returned, her life returned. Years later, she wore a white nurse's uniform, standing proud as she received her certificate. Dayo was there, clapping the loudest, his smile brighter than the Sunday. Not long after, Mary and Dayo married in her village. It was an elaborate ceremony, with family and friends rejoicing, and the sweet sound of drums. Her parents danced, neighbors rejoiced, and for the first time, Mary felt the weight of her past finally lift. She was no longer the girl trapped in chains. She was Mary, the nurse, the wife, the survivor. And Dayo, the man who once lived only for himself, had found his purpose in saving a life. To everyone listening, remember this: evil may rise, but it will never win forever. Madam Stella fell, Aunty fell, but Mary rose again, stronger than before. Every child deserves love, safety, and education, not chains, not betrayal. Jealousy destroys, greed destroys, but kindness heals. Be careful who you trust, even in your own family. And if you ever see injustice, don't stay silent. Take action. Stand for the weak and change someone's story. Because sometimes saving one life is enough to change the world. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you won't miss more real, emotional stories that open hearts and change lives. Because every story we tell is more than entertainment. It's a voice for the voiceless.